Dum de dum de dum. What did I do to this? Why is it all jacked up? Is it the layers? Oh, it's that. Why is it so... There. There. I think we'll put it there under the principles. Notes. Notes. Yeah, I like that. Save. Okay, that's working good. I'm just poking at our reset. Oh, people have come in. Hello, everybody. I want to show off the classic block thing, but I thought, in the beginning of these streams when nobody's sitting in here, I'd poke at our starter a little bit. We have decided against that. We are doing one layer. We're not using where because the layer handles it. Mark. We are not going to deal with it. I don't use it enough to care. Oh, what's up, Kick808? On vacation for a week. Good for you. I was camping maybe that same week you were gone, or part of it. So you didn't miss anything really. But I'm back at it this week. The starter is not done, but it's getting there. And there's a few things I want to look at still working on the HTML a little bit, but yeah, still plucking away at it, Then I got to write about it and kind of more explain the whys of some of the starter thing in there. It's still going to be a little tongue in cheek all the way up to the end because I don't know. I don't know that I really expect anybody else to use it. Usually more my style is to just, explain my thinking and stuff. But for one of the principles is it's for me, not necessarily for you. But I do want to write about it and I do want to share it and maybe other people will like it because, sometimes when you do something for yourself, you're like, well, obviously mine's the best. I looked at every single other reset out there and I took all the best ideas. And my ideas are amazing. So anyway, we're not really going to work on that today, or although I just did a little bit. What I wanted is we have this new thing because we've been, collecting feedback from our private beta at CodePen. And there's just a lot of factors at work into this, what we're calling the new classic block. And one of them is that this is already reduced since perhaps last time you've seen it, where when you start the new editor, there's not nothing in it anymore. Whereas the old editor, if I go to pen.new, has nothing in it. There's nothing. It renders as nothing. But there's a little bit of behind the scenes happening at CodePen in that there isn't really nothing. We take the HTML that you write and we put it into a complete HTML document, which has some stuff in it. It has a body and stuff. We didn't want to just send it to the browser with no doc type or anything, right? So even though you see nothing, we are compiling a document for you. It links up this CSS. It links up this JavaScript. It's meant to just be convenient. And I think people kind of like that. And that was a big conversation in the new editor where we want to give you access to the complete HTML document because it's a little bit more reflective of reality. Hi, Sue. So that's the deal. But there's enough feedback that's I don't like that though. I want to see less. I want to share more focused bits of code. And so I don't like that part of the new editor. And we're well, there's to some degree, I'm not afraid to move a little cheese, as they say, meaning that you're just going to have to get used to it. It's really not that different. It's really not that bad. You might like the control in the end anyway. So we'll see. But there were some other reasons too, in that converting pens from the old editor to the new editor added a lot of complication with that. And we had it solved. It just was like, well, this actually gets a little easier converting pens if we kind of support more like this old system, even in the new editor. So here I am in the new editor. I have not added the classic block. Blocks are in the new editor technologies that process code. So a lot of these are just supported on the old editor as well. Those are the blocks that we're starting with, although there's some new ones in here as well. Tailwind is in here now somewhere, isn't it? Tailwind. That's a brand new to the new editor. And we're hoping to, of course, add tons and tons of more of these. We're just finishing the editor with the technologies largely that we already support, including some new kind of site builder processors and things like that. Pretty cool. But classic block is brand new in this list as of, I don't know, a week at most. Probably not even. And so you can add that to your pen, and then you're going to see it in the build plan that the classic block is a new block that's already here. Now, it's going to have certain properties, and the idea is that this is being worked on kind of as we speak, but it has some matching files that it matches, meaning that it's not doing any work right now because it doesn't have any work to do. What it matches on is HTML files that have .pen.html, or it matches some others like pen.md and some other things like that. So I'll just delete this. I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to make a new file called index.pen.html. .pen.html is what we call the trigger for the CodePen block. So I wouldn't even have had to add it manually. Just naming the file this would have added that block. But now I can type hello in here, and you're going to see hello being rendered here. But like the old editor, so there's nothing in any of the editors like the old editor, right? But if I look at this, you can see that the output has, a doc type and a head and a body and stuff. DevTools isn't always the best place to do this in, because if you don't put a doc type on HTML that you send the browser's going to add one anyway. So that's not exactly proof that there's a doc type here, but we could look at the build output, and that will tell us, look, this word hello has transferred in the build to a complete HTML document that links up the style document in the JavaScript document. So if you don't want to see that and you don't care, now this behavior of this, even in the new editor, is like the behavior of the old editor. It's very, very similar. Of course, the editors are on the top here if you want that type of thing. If that's what's making you feel like it's different, you can just flip it to the top and stuff here too. Really, really kind of similar in what it's doing. So how does it link up? How does it know to link up this file and this file? Well, it's configuration. So that's a new thing in the new CodePen editor as well, is that there's config files for all the blocks. Every single block has one. The pen itself has one too. You really don't need to worry about this or ever look at it, but it's just saying which block is using and when it was added and things like that. The classic block has a config files too, and the config of it maps to options and settings and stuff that you had in the old editor. So for example, in the old editor, in the HTML, if you wanted to add some stuff to the head, you don't have access to the head element here. If you were to put the head element here in the old editor, it would render inside the body, because that's what the template does, and that's not where the head goes, and it wouldn't work properly. So if you wanted stuff in the head, we had this like funny old thing called stuff for head, and you could put stuff in there, like your Google font stuff you want to link up, or a special meta tag, or a wallet, or whatever else. You could put it in here. So how do you do that in the new editor? It's a setting. You put the escaped code and stuff in here. Now, as this evolves, we're going to have kind of visual config for it that allows, and by visual config, I mean like if you were to add TypeScript to this pen, now that's going to become a block that processes as well. You can change the TypeScript config as JSON, but you can also change it with visual config here, like just flip toggles and stuff and have it explain what those settings do. We'll have that for the classic block as well, but for now it's just a piece of JSON data. So stuff for head is there. In the old editor, you could add classes to the HTML. That's just now classes here, a space separated string, whatever you put there will become classes on the HTML. People used to use that for like, I don't know, translation attributes or JavaScript, no JavaScript or whatever. You just wanted to have some high level selector that selected everything. We wanted to make that possible. And this is how it knows to link up the script.js file and the style. So rather than make it totally magical where you couldn't see why it was happening or what. We just have a comma separated list here. And that has a second byproduct of nicitude here. Here I am in the old editor. And if I wanted to use Bootstrap or something, I would search for Bootstrap and add it, and you would add it as a URL here, right? So now I'm using Bootstrap on this pen. H1 hello world. It's going to look all kind of Helvetica new or whatever that Bootstrap has. Nice. But like, where did Bootstrap get added? Where is this URL from the old editor being applied to this preview? Well, we can just look. Here's the head. I'm in Zen browser, by the way. So we're in Firefox DevTools today, just because. It gets appended. Where are we? Hello world, right? Bunch of scripts and stuff, inline style ID. But the Bootstrap is there. Right above your authored styles, we just make a link element for you with that URL in there and put it there. So in the new editor, it would just be in this list. It would list yours second, and it would list that URL for Bootstrap here, and it would load this one first and this one second. So no kind of magic in there. And that's all the config for the classic block. But just because it exists, it makes like kind of the transfer and ultimately the conversion of old pens to new pens is going to be really straightforward. It's just going to take this and make it the index.html file. It's going to take this and make it the style.css file. It's going to take this and make it the script.js file. And that's pretty much it. Now, when processors are involved, it will be a little bit different, meaning like if this was Markdown and this was hello world, you're still going to see the H1 there because the Markdown is being turned into HTML, which is here. So the way that works in this new editor with the classic block is you have to do that here. So you say rename, and pens will be converted this way. You can say index.pen.md. This becomes Markdown syntax, hello world, but you still get the linking up behavior. So here's the H1. It's still linking up this file. You don't see a link tag anywhere here, right? But I can go body, background, orange here, and it's going to become orange down here. And we can see that happening in the build output. You can't see the build output very well in the old editor, of course, but here it is. There's my Markdown being converted, but it's linking up the files I'm telling it to be linked up in the config. So that's how the classic block is working there. Pretty sick, I'd say. Pretty nice, especially for Markdown. Otherwise, you'd have to go, you'd have to put the doc type in yourself. You'd have to literally make a head in Markdown. Like, who does that? This is like unheard of looking code in Markdown. It works because Markdown supports HTML. It's just very non-standard. It's just very awkward. Like if you just want the main page of your site to be index whatever, I think that is fine. And we'll take care of the linking if you use the classic block. Now you don't have to use the classic block. It's optional like most other blocks are. I think so. Thank you, Andrew. I think it's a nice solve too. Really, the team came together to solve that kind of thing. So old editor, new editor. You really don't have to use it. We probably, almost certainly, will not make the brand new pen experience be that. Like, I'm not sure I want to like teach the world that this is the way to go, but it will convert old pens so they'll look, almost identical to how they looked before. Yeah, but the new pen experience will be kind of a minimal amount of code, maybe a little bit more than we're seeing right now. Let's see, CodePen editor pen. We have Shaw and I have been tossing back around that we don't want it to be fully white here in the new editor thing. We want a little bit of something so you can see that like a build has run essentially and it's doing the job that it needs to do. But this JavaScript that was in there was a little too much, so we deleted that. But if you want to have any HTML to make sure something rendered, CodePen that but that's just so gross. So I'm like, I refuse to have like Times New Roman essentially in that output. So I wanted a little CSS. So I think we're leaning on like a body before element that adds something in there. So if you want to get rid of it, you just select all and get rid of it and it's fine. But more likely you're going to have a template. So that's another new thing that's coming is you get this all set up exactly how you want it. In settings, there's going to be a template thing and you can just click this and it'll be like, this is my, what we're calling a default template, meaning every new pen that you start is going to be exactly like the one that you just have here. So that'll be kind of nice too. We already have templates, you know, and maybe that's some work we could do right now together. We could say editor pen, we could make a classic block. We could make a classic block template. I should do it under Team CodePen templates though. I'll call it classic block template. Now it can only have 3 files because I want this to be for free users too. Although we could make a second template that is, you know, has more files, because you'll see the classic block actually is kind of useful for multi-page sites as well. We could look at that, but obviously we're going to need to get rid of that. Obviously we're going to need to rename this with the pen prefix in it, .pen. And then this will be like, I don't know, should we just say classic or something and then center it? I don't even know what to do here. Body, margin 0. If we use the display grid thing, grid, height 100 dBH, place items, center, modern font stacks. What's a cool italic? Can I make it be an italic? No, there's no preview for it. Transitional, sure, let's go for it. I bet that font is cool looking. Font style italic. I don't know, classic just seems like the kind of, oh, I don't like it. The C looks like a G. Meh. Classical. It uses the word classic right in it. Merp. Merp. Okay, cool. So that's a classic pen that could be a template. And if I just mark it as a template, save it, then go to, this is some behind the scenes, you know, this is what controls when you go to like create, and the templates that we're offering here is that there's actually a collection called something, official templates. So I can add that new classic block pen that we just made. I can just do it from here. Add to collection official templates. And then, is it at the bottom though? No, it adds it as the first thing in the list, which is kind of good. So if you go to create now as some other user and go to official, it'll be the first one that you see. Do I have bookmarked ones? I should almost unbookmark these. Remove from bookmarks, remove from bookmarks. If I have them, if I don't have any bookmark, if I have bookmarked ones and I go to the new pen, the bookmarked ones are what shows down here. And if they're not, then it'll show the first 3 official ones. So now people can just go, boom, classic block, leave page, boom. And this is available for all users now. Ooh, that's funny. I think Shaw was going to fix that, but we'll have to see if that has been deployed yet. You see how it only opened 2 of the 3 files? We can kind of control that. This should be open. It should look like, you know, whatever. How do I put open one in the middle? How do I swap these? I don't know. It's like that game where you move the like larger disks onto the different columns to move them. I want script to be the last one. Can he do it? Can it be done? No, I don't know. You just close them and open them in the right order is the real answer. This and then this. Oh no. No. This and then this. There we go. Jeez. All right, some chat ones. Emmett, is there a search for packages in the new one? the new one. We're calling it the 2.0 editor. Yes, there is. It's in assets here, packages. So if you're looking for Bootstrap, like I just did before, it's showing us you can pull it in from npm. That's the the JavaScript of it, but this is the CSS of it. So if you wanted it, this is one of the reasons I wanted to have the HTML be there normally anyway. So you could like get examples like this and then know where to put it. You can put it in the head like every other HTML freaking document in the world. But now we just need the URL. So I'm going to probably have to add this to just have the URL so that you can get your hands on it for the classic block. So if I just select that, I'd come into the config and I'd say link up Bootstrap there. Okay, cool. So if we didn't have any of this styling, we'd see the Helvetica new of Bootstrap and all that. Yeah. So that's how that works. That's the package search. It's a little better than it was before because it uses a new API to expose these things and has more options to select from them and stuff. But yeah, it's different. So I think there'll be, speaking of cheese moving, there'll be people that like look in here, be like, oh, where do I put those external resources again? But the difference is, you won't in the editor new, is that going to come up? No. I'm not. I'm like 1 hour into using Zen browser here. Editor pen. Hopefully you won't have that thought when you see this. You'd be like, where do I put a link tag? You put it next to the other link tag. Like hopefully that the mental process of that is very kind of straightforward. I would hope. So anyway, what were we on? Oh yeah, that's this. Did we deploy? I think there's a deployment coming out soon. If you have the beta flag, you'll be able to come into this save dropdown of any old pen, and there'll be a big button down here at the bottom that says, move it over. Just make this a new editor pen. Leave this pen alone, but like move a copy of it over so you can play with it or whatever. I'm just still reading the comments here. Andrew, I really like the pen.new/OG. Maybe it'd be /classic because that's what we're calling the block. I think your intention there would be that it opens the classic template. Yeah, I think I could do that pretty relatively quickly, couldn't I? I don't know. Right now, all that whole URL is just a single redirect, but it probably would be too bad to put other redirects there. I wonder what's like the minimum technology you can use to do that. Like, would I have to spin up a little Go server or something to do that? That would really not be that bad. But it'd be cool that if like domains supported specific URL redirects with like no technology at all. I think that would be neat. Cool. All right. So classic block, we made the template now. So now if you go to a brand new unsaved pen or whatever, editor pen, the template is there. I think I'm going to have to do better than that. There's going to have to be a little bit more thought behind that. Now it's a little bit at odds with blank slate. This was like feedback from Miriam saying like, I want as little code as possible. So we made this template that's as little code as the non-classic block can be, but it's not nothing, I think the world wanted nothing in the HTML. And so that's what the classic block does. I don't want to push it too hard because I think this is a perfectly fine setup as well. But like, which one would you use if you're going for the absolute minimal setup? I don't know. It depends, And I don't want too much it depends on the new editor. I want the answer to be a little bit more clear. So not sure how that will shake out just yet. We could make a multi-page one though, just for fun. So why don't we do that? We'll start with this template because it already will have the classic block, and we'll save it and we'll call this one example of multi-page site with classic block. Cool. The idea being that if I now make about.pen.html, because it ends in .pen.html, h1 home page, it will be processed in the same way as what I needed to complete my thought there. Save, copy, not that. About page. Yeah, and then how do you do includes? Well, Nunjux should handle that. I don't think they're going to support, because HTML includes is tricky because we do support that, but I'd rather not keep inventing new technology that is proprietary to CodePen to process. This is already weird, and I don't like that. I'd rather have most of that type of technology handled by blocks, handled by technology that exists in the world. So if you want that, then do handlebars or something. That way, when you leave CodePen with code, it's more compatible with the rest of the world. Not trying to build proprietary things so much. Yeah, Astro's coming for sure. I don't know if Nunjux works with the with .pen yet. I think it does, but I don't want to stream that and have it be a obnoxious kind of thing. Yeah, there's lots of, obviously HTML includes is like my freaking passion project almost, and how that can work. But for now, let's do it this way. We'll just say nav, anchor link, home, and shift option down is the standard VS Code way of duplicating a line. About page is /about. We could put HTML or not. Our server will serve it either way. In fact, let's demonstrate that, /about. And then we'll just copy that and put it here as well. Doesn't that, I love how, if this rubs you the wrong way that we have duplicate HTML on 2 pages, then we're friends, I'd say. So about page, loads the about page, home clicks the home page, and look, we didn't have to link up the style on either page. This style is being applied, which I'd probably get rid of all this weird centering stuff. All of it, really. Even the margin. We don't have to link it up. The classic block is linking it up. I think that's cool. That's like a, whatever. If we did have HTML includes and we made the classic blocks support them, which is not totally off the table, because you remember, some of you may remember the classic way in the old editor to do an HTML include was put the URL of a pen in triple square brackets, which is a crazy syntax. That's definitely going to be going away. Sorry, I'd rather have you use nunchucks or pug or handlebars or any other standard system that can do it, or Astro. So we're going to be leaning into that. But if it did, it's like almost like a little site building tool in one block, Not quite, but a little bit. That's a multi-page site right there. And we're just a hop skipping away from having deployment done. And it's so exciting, isn't it? Well, that's the classic block so far. The config's going to get a little better. The templates are going to get better. But the biggest decision, at least for Team CodePen, is that old pens, all, I'll just say 1 jillion to try to get an accurate estimate of how many we have to convert, are going to be converted using the classic block, so that the cheese moving is kind of at a minimum there, which feels fair, and it removes a bunch of complexity for us. It should be kind of nice. So I guess that's a sneak peek of the classic block. We'll probably leave it at that for today. There's probably a couple more streams we could do on the starter, and I'm probably going to lean into that for the next couple days. But then we'll move on to something else. I don't know what. There's an absolutely endless amount of stuff we can talk about. So thanks all my friends for hanging out, and I'll see you tomorrow.